no separate moments, no separate things. That there's not really much by way of explanation. Explanation doesn't really work when it comes to trying to describe the state of being post-awakening. And I don't know that it's necessary. It's wherever. I mean, I'm not trying to explain. It's whatever an individual's interpretation of life, whatever's happening, is what's happening. It's not my place to explain yeah. I mean, I do feel it's important to be able to communicate a little bit about what's going on, and that it does provide some momentary relief. Ultimately from being alone. And that's for me, from my experience. And that aloneness is something that's always been present. But separation is painful, can be painful, can cause discomfort, can cause all sorts of disruptions to the way that energy flows for an individual. As it relates to separation and or being in the present moment. And that's really what's being talked about here, is life not in the present moment and life in the present moment. As it relates to life before and after awakening. So it is difficult to talk about. It's challenging to describe it. It's challenging to explain it. And there can be a loneliness in it. Excuse me. Oh, I was just thinking about editing, and it's life without editing. You hear these pauses as I'm talking, and there's no editing going to be taking place. When I hit record, I hit record. And the act of recording captures life as it's happening in the present moment. And makes it history. Makes it, takes it and catches a moment, catches it in time, captures it, and holds it. And from my experience and perspective, I enjoy the natural flow of life. I know that along the way some people have called it channeling. And it's when the thought stream flows naturally, and people come up with all sorts of catchy, trendy names for it. But it's really just being in the present moment. Um, no edits. I find that with this heightened awareness that revisions are made, self-corrections are made, but as it relates to recording this podcast, there will definitely, I shouldn't say there will definitely, there may come a time where there may be an edit needed for some reason. So you never know. But there won't be any edits as far as editing out noises. You know, sometimes thoughts may be disconnected, maybe some meandering. But that's life in the present moment. See, and just as I sit here and think about no edits, I'm going to actually pause and I'm going to go use the restroom. And we'll continue this shortly. I'm smiling, laughing at my actions. And I should probably, against my better judgment, not go in reverse and try and relive or recapture the moment, which that's what the recording is for. but I just recorded the remainder of the segment and thought I hit record, and the record button wasn't on. And then I did it again, and the record button wasn't on. And oftentimes there's a chemical reaction or a feeling associated with, feelings of creativity or making a benchmark, accomplishing a goal, victory. Like there's some feelings with that are associated with it. And I was like, yeah, all right. It was pretty good. Pretty good segment. But I didn't record it. So but separation is on the mind. Separation is in review of life before and after awakening. Separation is the topic that covers the words and story used to describe life between two worlds. And the world is life before awakening, and then life after awakening. What that is for each individual, that's up to the individual. For each awakening, for each story, that can only be determined by that individual. And the two worlds that exist are ultimately, when it's all said and done, mental fabrications, imaginary, and in the realm of separation, and some folks will refer to it as a dream of separation, or the dream. Again, we're confined, both simultaneously confined and freed up with the language that is used. And I just use the word we, see? It's hard to communicate. It's a practice, it's a constant study to be able to communicate well, or to attempt to communicate well. But that's for me in my self-evaluation. The self-identity is based on the past. There was no past. There was no longer a future. There was no longer objectification. All that had disappeared. Or objectified self-identity. And it was very, 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 very confusing and very frustrating, not knowing how to relate, to interact, and to live with a mind that was juxtaposed into two worlds. And it still is challenging. The challenges never stop.
It's more challenging now than it ever has been. And I need to be careful with the use of time as a benchmark. Time is not the benchmark for my awakening. But the two worlds are the dream of separation and the present moment, really. So the existence of being in the present moment, what that entails, and it's not easy. It is very, very challenging. And then being able to exist in the present moment while joining in and enjoying this life and being a part of all of it, whether it's separate or not, and being able to flow within the many challenges that come up is something that is a constant, ongoing learning experience, and it is very challenging. You know, one of the things that I've seen people talk about is channeling, and I'm bringing channeling up. That's just another term for being in the present moment. And it's when an individual recites the words from the unending and unimpeded thought stream. As it flows, as it's happening. That's called, it's being in the moment. It's really simple, simultaneously very challenging. Self-identity and the separate self-identity carries a lot of tears with it. And its dissolution, the self-identity, its dissolution in the awakening process is brutal. Again, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking for anyone. But just as in all things shared unity, it's refreshing to come across and encounter those who also have. Somebody enjoyed
Hello. Walking with the big dog. Walking with the big dog. Walking with the big dog. Walking with the big dog.
I think it'd be appropriate to have a guest and go from there.